welcome to Horror Franchise Wednesday. Let's talk about Scream 2, which came out 1 year right after the original in 1997. Once again, written by Kevin Williamson and directed by Wes Craven. And this movie takes place a couple of years, I think. Doesn't say, I don't think, in the movie exactly how long later it is, but I think it's like a couple of years later. Sydney is now in college, and another series of killings happen. There's another Ghostface killer on campus, duplicating the murders from the first movie, and she's going to be the target eventually, so she's got to find out who this new Ghostface killer is and stop them before she is dead. Before we jump into my likes and dislikes, I recommend going to my Scream 1 review where I talk about my positives and negatives for basically the whole franchise, because there's a lot of things that I pointed out that I liked and disliked about Scream 1 that I can easily say about Scream 2, 3, and 4. So I'm not going to repeat myself here and keep saying the same thing each week. So just go to my Scream 1 review and you'll hear my positives and negatives for this movie as well. So go watch that, then come back here. All right, so Scream 2. Let's talk about my positives specifically for Scream 2. I like Neve Campbell, her character, Sydney's progression in this movie, how now she's very precautious and she has caller ID. I like that. And I like that this movie kills a character from the first one. We have a lot of returning characters, which I like. I like the cast continuity, the story continuity. I'm a big stickler for that stuff. I don't like it when sequels ignore shit. So this whole franchise has really good story and cast continuity. But yeah, they kill one character from the other movie, and so I like that. That makes it risky. The movie actually takes some risks. I just wish that this movie would have killed one or two more. And I like Timothy Olyphant, if that's how you say his last name, the guy from like Live Free, Die Hard, all kinds of movies, the Crazies remake. I really like him as an actor, and I like his performance in this movie. Also, I like the new cameraman character in this movie. Much more smarter than the guy in the first one. He's like, when shit gets, too dangerous, he's like, I'm out, which is smart. So I like that. I thought he was a good comic relief character in the film as well. So some good humor in here. And I thought the killers in this movie were a little less obvious. I don't remember watching these movies for the first time, and if I was able to guess who the killers were going to be when I first watched these, because I watched them at a young age. So, but just watching it this time, I was like, who these killers end up being, I think it's less obvious than part one. And I also like the idea of the Stab movie, how they take the events of part one and they make a movie out of it, which is just true to life. That always happens, a movie based on true events. So I like the idea, the concept there. And another thing I like that I didn't notice before until this watch is that this movie opens up with a stage/theater kill, and then it ends on a stage at a theater. So I like that it bookends with like the same kind of atmosphere and setting. Now getting into my dislikes. I do not like them reusing that song from part one in this movie again and again and again. I already, I talked about the soundtrack in my Scream 1 review, but I hate that in this movie they took that song that I didn't like in part one and they used it like 4 more times in this movie. And I think they even used it in the movie within the movie. And then they also have this dumb like theme song for Dewey's theme. I don't like it. I don't know what it is about it, but it just makes me roll my eyes. I hate it so much. And I don't like how in this movie they talk about how there's sequel rules and how they up the body count and they up the gore. And this one decreases both, or is about the same in both of those departments. Like the body count is just about the same, really, if we're not counting killers especially. So it's like, it's not a higher body count, and the kills are not more vicious and not more gory than the original. And I also just thought that this movie got a little too ridiculous with the meta, stuff, the meta dialogue, the meta nature of the film, how the movie within the movie somehow knew exactly what was going on and being said between Sydney and her boyfriend and what exactly Drew Barrymore's character was doing before she died. Like, it got so ridiculous, and I don't like the opening of this movie either. The opening to part one is masterful, and then this one is just a pale comparison. It is just so over the top, ridiculous, and I just don't like it. I also don't like the motivations in this movie. I think they're both dumb, or one of them just really unjustified, really, and the other one just especially. I just, from the first person who reveals who they are, in their motivation, that person's motivation was just asinine. And I thought the writing in this movie, shockingly, it's the same writer, it just felt lazier to me. There was just so many conveniences, and just, we need the killer to be here, so now he's here and he can anticipate this is going to happen. Like, there was a little bit of that in part one, but there was just tenfold more in this one, where I'm like, what bullshit. This movie is a little bit longer than Scream 1, and it feels longer than Scream 1. There is quite a few scenes, especially in the middle, that just were unnecessary. That singing scene in the college cafeteria just makes me cringe every time. I hate that scene. Take it out. And there's just so much filler in the middle. I just feel like this movie is unjustified having this almost 2 hour long runtime. You could have taken 10 minutes out of this movie easily. And this one doesn't even have a really good final chase. There's no final chase like part one. In this one, she gets out of the car and boom, she's at the theater, and then the mask is taken off to kill her, and then we get the big motivation speech. There's no like chase there. There's no running around between the killer and Sydney in this one like part one. So that was just a letdown. Going back to the laziness of the script, this movie inserts this idea that at first seems interesting, where the killer is killing people that have a similar name as people in the first one. Like, this killer wants to remake part one, kill people with the same name as the people in part one, and they bring this up, and then right after they bring it up, it's no longer a point in the movie. They're just like, all right, we're done with that. And I was listening to the commentary, and Wes Craven even pointed that out. Like, yeah, that's interesting. We bring this up, and then it kind of just goes nowhere. Yeah, exactly. So what the fuck? I guess the killer he couldn't find somebody named Principal Hembry at this college to kill. One thing I completely forgot to point out in my Scream 1 review, when I was talking pros and cons for the whole franchise, that I want to point out here. So, negative for the whole franchise, and this is just a nitpick, I can't stand the posters for this franchise. I don't like them, and I hate, and what makes them worse is that they started a trend in Hollywood for horror movies, especially like slashers, where everyone's just every poster is just everyone's faces all together. Like, how creative is that? Posters got really lazy in the 90s, and I think part of it is thanks to Scream. Scream got really successful, so everyone was like, well, let's market our films with the same poster as Scream, and everyone will go see our movie. Like Urban Legend, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Valentine, and Final Destination, so on and so forth. Just people's faces, no imagination and creativity with the artwork, just people's faces, and it's lame as shit. So final thoughts, this movie is just, to me, a pale imitation of the original that just doesn't capture fully the magic of the original. It goes too far with the meta stuff, doesn't kill some people that I wish they would have killed. They should have taken more risks. I like that they killed the one character, but I think they should have killed more. They should have upped the body count a little bit more, trim a few minutes off of this thing. It doesn't need to be that long. I really like Neve Campbell. I like Sydney. She's still a badass in this one. She fights back a lot and kicks some ass towards the end, so I like that. But man, like, this one just did not live up on rewatch. So when it comes to Scream 2, maybe just stream it, borrow it from a friend, or rent it at Redbox. Alright, so spoiler discussion. Let's talk about this opening. So they're going to see Stab at this theater that's in a lot of horror movies. I recognized it. Nightmare on Elm Street, I think, uses it. But they're seeing the movie Stab, which is based on the events of part 1. And somehow this movie, shot just like the movie Scream, and somehow this movie knew what Casey was saying, and what the conversation was like on the phone, and then the fact that she was making like Jiffy popcorn and shit before she died. Like, how did Gale Weathers get all this information to put it in her book? It's so ridiculous. And then, like, the shower scene is shot like psycho. And so we got Jada and Omar, and Jada's basically playing herself.
I'm gonna tell you what it is, okay? It's a dumbass white movie about some dumbass white girls getting their white asses cut the fuck up.
Someone who likes to keep talking about things being white. The Oscars are too white. She's talking about how horror movies are all about white people getting killed. Like, how is this not racist? I mean, if you flip it, it's racist. So what she's saying to me is racist. She's like, oh, white people getting killed because they're stupid, because they're white. They're white and stupid. It's like, that's racist. So I'm calling her out. Jada, you're racist. So this theater is handing out masks and knives. Do you have any idea how much of a waste of money that is? Like, you're not going to make much of a profit when you're too busy buying all these masks and knives to hand out to everybody that goes to see this movie. Are they doing it to just this theater, or is it nationwide? And how lucky is it that they're like the last ones to buy tickets for this popular movie that seems to be like sold out? They get there last minute, like as soon as they walk in, the movie is starting. So they're like late. They get like front row seats in the middle. Bullshit. So Omar, he goes to the restroom, and somehow the killer is already in there, knew that he would have to use a stall because there'd be a few people using the urinal, so he's forced to use the stall. The killer is already in there waiting for him, and then the killer somehow knew that if he or she just started whispering, that he would put his head up against the stall, and this killer knew exactly where to stab to kill him. It's just ridiculous. Like, show him looking over to, like, all right, is he there? Like, where do I stab? And it would have worked better, actually, if we didn't see that shot of him going to stab the stall. It should have just been, like, him putting his ear up, and then, boom, just impact shot, like, no cutting to Ghostface, because then you know what's about to happen right before it happens. So that was just a bad insert shot that you didn't really need. So, anyways, then Jada, she gets stabbed, and then she runs up on stage bleeding. Everyone just thinks she's pretending that she's dying because everyone in there's fake stabbing each other. It's just very convenient and so ridiculous. But I'm glad she's dead for being such a racist bitch. She also deserves to be stabbed for talking so much in the damn theater. Keep your damn mouth shut, all right? But does she... Another thing I didn't think about till this view, does she even realize who's stabbing her? Does she think that her boyfriend is killing her in that moment? I wonder. Kind of like in Halloween with Linda and Bob. We get this interesting discussion about sequels and how sequels are naturally just inferior. They're never as good as the original. So this movie is basically pointing out, it's very meta. It's like it's pointing out that this movie is more than likely not going to be as good as the original. And they're right. It isn't. But Randy, who's supposed to be like this horror film nerd, somehow doesn't know the quote from Aliens. He says, isn't it, it's stay away from her, you bitch. Acting like the other guy was wrong for saying that the quote was get away from her, you bitch. It's like, no, you're wrong, Randy. I kind of like that Dewey has a limp in this movie from when he was stabbed in part 1, so it's, damage being carried over into the next movie, like there would be maybe something like this, as a side effect of being stabbed. So it's like showing that, even though he got away in part 1, there was a price still. He now is forced to live the rest of his life with this limp that magically kind of goes away by part 4. So, but I kind of dislike the limp because it just makes his character seem extra goofy, and I already didn't like how goofy he was in part 1. So now he just... Not only does he act goofy, but now he has to walk and seem extra goofy because of the limp. But now that I think about it, it also kind of eliminates him as a red herring because the killer's not running around like this. So it can't be Dewey unless he's full of shit and he can actually walk normally, and he's just pretending. 2 movies in a row, we got a Scooby-Doo actor. This time we got Sarah Michelle Gellar. And her scene when she is getting attacked, that's like... kind of like it's mirroring the opening of the first one, and it's the best scene in the movie. But quick question, where the hell did Ghostface go? When you see him sneak in the background as she's talking to the other chick, he like goes to the right of frame, and then when they go around the corner, we see what's in that corner. No doors, nothing, like a windows. What did he do? Get inside and hop out the window? Where was he hiding in that moment? I've watched the scene a couple times, and I don't understand where the hell he was hiding. And I don't understand who puts a bicycle on the 3rd floor of a sorority house. And I also don't understand why she wouldn't just frickin' leave. You know, you got the phone's breaking up cliche, like just get inside the house and make the damn call and then leave, or just leave. You got a whole campus of protection. Go to the party, protect yourself. If you really think that there's a threat, which she seems scared, so if she's scared, why doesn't she leave and like go for help? She just stays there and then runs upstairs like the trope that was pointed out in part 1, and then gets thrown over the balcony, clearly into the arms of a stuntman who is sitting in frame. I don't know how they didn't notice that when they were editing this. That's just bad editing right there. So her boyfriend gets, injured off camera, so he's like a suspect. It's so convenient that he just got his arm sliced. And I thought it was so stupid that he went up to her and asked her, like, are you okay? Well, she's clearly okay. She's in front of you. She's alive and breathing. There's no blood on her. Like, what the hell? It's such a dumb question. Just go in there and you're just wasting time. So in the movie Stab, they hire Tori Spelling to play Sydney. And in part 1, Sydney said that if what was happening to her was a movie, Tori Spelling would probably play her. So that's a joke from part 1 in this movie. And then there's like Friends jokes because Courtney Cox is in the movie. They make like a David Schwimmer reference and a Jennifer Aniston reference. So it's like, haha, because, Courtney Cox and Friends, blah, blah, blah. And so was Ghostface really in that play rehearsal, or was she just imagining things? Because I would think and hope that it was just all in her mind. Because at this point, she would probably be freaking out and seeing Ghostface everywhere. It wouldn't make sense for Ghostface to run up on stage wearing the Ghostface mask. For what reason? Just to fuck with her more, but not actually try to attack her and kill her on stage? Like, it wouldn't make sense if it was the actual killer, so to me, it has to be in her mind. So then we get the shocking, controversial scene where Randy gets killed, and while I like that he gets killed, when you find out that it's Mrs. Loomis that does it, you kind of have to suspend disbelief, kind of like in Friday the 13th. Like, this woman had that much strength to, like, grab him and then throw him into the fucking van, and then somehow you'll kill him? Like, I don't think so. And it's just so convenient that people with boom boxes are walking around the corner at that time, and so convenient that Randy just decided to walk up to that van when he could have just sat still in the open field. Like, he didn't have to move from his spot at all. He had 3 other people looking for people with cell phones. He didn't need to do that too and join in. He could have just sat there where he was safe, but no, lazy writing, they had to get him to the van so that he could get killed. So then they introduce these 2 like security guards, these police officers who are just so idiotic. And so they're in the library and they say that the message that she's getting from the killer has to be from a computer within that library. And we see like a wide shot of this whole place and there's only like a dozen computers. So where exactly is the killer? Because if you pause it, you can't see Mickey or Mrs. Loomis in that computer library. So where is she or he? Where could the killer be in that scene? They never explain it, like how they did that, how they sent those messages so quickly and got out of there. And then it's just funny that Sydney has like a 2-3 minute confrontation with Cotton while the 2 dipshits are running around checking all 10 computers. Like, it took them that long to check that place out. Meanwhile, there's this shit happening over here. It's like, these cops are slow and stupid. I hate these cops. They're just like I said in part 1. I hate the trope of dumb cops, and this one has it too. So the cameraman quits, hands Gail all the tapes that he's been filming. So in the moment, a spontaneous decision, she and Dewey decide to go to the college theater or whatever room they're at that has like a VHS tape player. They go there to play the tapes, but somehow the killer anticipated that they would go to this specific room to play these tapes because he already has a tape of pre-recorded shit playing on this television. And then also the pre-recorded tape cuts to live footage. I'm not sure how that's possible. If it is, I don't know. But it's like, really? So the killer anticipated that they would just go run to this place to play tapes, and he would already have a tape in there to play while they were in there just to fuck with him for a little bit. And then Dewey gets stabbed like 4 times in the back. Like, we hear him getting stabbed 4 times. We don't really see it. But with sound effects, it seems like he's being stabbed multiple times and he survives. Bullshit. And how is it that when he's banging on the glass, she's like right there on the other side, she can't hear a single sound, but then when the killer is banging on the glass, she hears every thud. Another scene where the killer is anticipating people's moves and where they're going to be at what exact moment. We never get an explanation to justify this scene, how it was set up and how the killer knew that these cops with Sydney and her roommate would be stopped at this specific traffic light at this moment. Where did the killer come from? He was on foot. So, and they're driving away from campus for God knows how long. They come to a stop, and then here's the killer not even a minute later, like he was already there waiting for them. They could have at least showed like a car behind them. Maybe he got out of the car. He was following them in the car, Mickey, because that's who it is. It has to be Mickey in this scene. So Mickey, like maybe they should have showed like a car behind them so I could be like, oh, so he was following them. He got out of the car, ran up, broke through the glass so easily, but then they can't kick out the glass themselves. Like, what? So it's like, how did he know that they would stop at this traffic light? He was already there waiting for them. And then the stupid cop he's on the hood of the car. He won't just fucking shoot the killer in the face. Is it a bulletproof glass? I don't think it is, because that bar goes right through it so easily. I think a bullet could go right through it. It's not a bulletproof glass, I don't think. And the killer just so easily punched through the damn side window. And then you got Sydney and what's-her-face in the back. They don't even try at all to kick out the side windows or the back window. Like you see Sydney for like 1 second go, like, just love taps. I'm like, are you trying at all to save your skin? Like, it's just ridiculous. And they have to do, like, I get it's like tension building, like them trying to, they pull down the gate, they have to go around. But then when Sydney gets out, she doesn't try hard enough to get that door open. She could have tried busting out that window herself, or she could have got the keys off of the dead cop. The keys, I think they were actually in the ignition still, because, the killer was just driving and crashed and passed out. So she could have grabbed the keys, unlocked the damn door, grabbed the gun off the hood of the car, but she doesn't do any of that shit. And why wouldn't she just take the mask off? It would be so quick. Boom, there it is, it's off. You're already outside the car, you can take the mask off real quick, see the face, and run away. But no, I mean, it's already too late at this point. This is like right in the beginning of the final act, so it's like, at this point, it's too late. Who cares if she finds out who the killer is now? She's basically the last one alive. So, except for, Gale and Dewey, because he's fucking not bleeding out like he should. But, like, why wouldn't you take the mask off in that moment? So that was just dumb. And another thing, I don't get this. So, wherever they are, I don't know exactly where they are, this crash, what street they're at, but they're outside of the college campus, right? They're in the city. That's just conveniently a ghost town. There's nobody driving around, nobody for blocks. Where does she run to? Not the police station, not to some apartment, house, someone. She just randomly runs to the college theater? Why? Did I miss something? No, because I watched it twice. She just goes from the crash site to the theater. And I can also point out how unbelievable it is that the killer snuck out of the car and went around that, whatever it is, so quick and quietly to sneak up on the roommate and stab her. It's like, really? Like, they didn't hear or see something in the corner of their eye as they were talking for like 20 seconds. He somehow got around like the building that quick. Like, get the fuck out of here. So then we get the reveal. She's at the theater and Mickey reveals himself, and he tries to make her think that her boyfriend is possibly the killer. Deja Vu, is her boyfriend, her new boyfriend, going to be like her ex-boyfriend, a psychopath? She doesn't know who to trust. But it's like, I mean, if he really was the killer, why would he be ratting him out as he's vulnerable and tied up? That doesn't make sense. But whatever. But Mickey shoots him, and then he gives this really stupid motivation about how he's going to blame, he wants to get caught. So that's kind of unique. They usually want to get away with it, so I kind of like that. But his motivation is just so out there. It's so asinine. Like, really, you think, like, he expects that they're going to let him off. Like, now he's not going to get a sentence at all, right? Like, I'm going to blame the movies, and therefore I just won't be arrested at all for my crimes. And then we get like a Mrs. Voorhees reveal here with Mrs. Loomis in a like Dr. Loomis jacket almost coming out, making you think at first that it's Gail who's the killer. So I kind of like that head fake, like, oh shit, it's Gail. But no, it's Mrs. Loomis. Are you telling me that craziness just runs in this family? Like, is Mr. Loomis going to be the killer in Scream 5? That's who it's going to be. Because if Billy is crazy and he's just as crazy as his fucking mom, like, if she's this crazy because her son got killed, how come she didn't kill her husband when he was cheating on her with Maureen? Oh my god, and the explanation about how they met was just silly also. Like, she just went to, killersonly.com. You don't have to be lonely at killersonly.com. Like, she just went online and found Mickey, who was already an active serial killer, I guess, murdering people before this movie. So, yeah, she just found him. Was like, hey, you want to be my partner? And then that's how easy it was. So, what? So, I didn't like that explanation, but I guess you need one. But because then you'd be like, well, how did these two people meet? So, damn if you do, damn if you don't. But this explanation is pretty dumb. And she just goes on and on and on about, you know what it's like to be a mother and lose your son. Like, just shoot Sydney. Shoot her. She doesn't need to hear this. It's just, it's the same thing about Scream 1, 3, 4. I said it in my other review, but it just pissed me off more in this movie because it was even longer and more ridiculous. So are those stage rocks real? Because the sound design makes it sound like these things have some weight to them. Like, they're real, like, rocks that probably weigh hundreds of pounds. Why would you need real rocks for some cheap little college theater play? That's ridiculous. Like, they, like, hit her and they really, like, knock her out. Like, these things weigh a lot. Like, really? Come on. They would just be, like, foam. Not real, like, boulders falling down on top of her. It was just so absurd. So then, like, she conveniently loses her gun when that happens. So now she only has a knife to attack Sydney. And then Cotton shows up. And originally, Cotton was going to be the killer along with her boyfriend and her roommate, I read. So there would have been 4 killers in this movie. It seems a bit much. But yeah, so when Cotton shoots Mrs. Loomis in the throat, somehow it, like, knocks Sydney on her ass also. Why wouldn't it just, like, knock Mrs. Loomis back? Like, does she, like, bring her back with her? And then it's just kind of convenient just to trick the audience for a bit. Like, is Sydney dead? Did she get shot too? Like, she just conveniently, like, is, like, knocked out for 5 seconds on the ground. So you're like, oh my gosh, is Sydney killed too? Did the bullet go through her and then into Mrs. Loomis? Like, I get why they're doing it, but it's just like, really? Come on. Like, realistically, it just would have hit the throat of Mrs. Loomis. She would have fell back, and Sydney just would have been like, oh, you saved me. That's how it would have went down. I had a good laugh when Mickey got shot, and he actually does, like, a backflip because of how much he's shot. Like, really? Oh my gosh, like, doing gymnastics because of these bullets. And then I love that Sydney just shoots Mrs. Loomis right in the face, like, just in case. I don't want her to come back for one last scare too. So, makes her very cold. Like, she ain't taking chances. Like, but yeah, like, Gail's still alive, even though she got shot in the stomach. And then Dewey's still alive, and now he's missing a sock and shoe for some reason. Like, what the fuck? How did that happen? It's like, too many survivors. So that's the end of my Scream 2 retrospective. Let me know what you thought about this movie in the comments below. Is it your favorite sequel in the franchise? It seems to be most people's favorite sequels, but on this rewatch, I can't see it being my favorite. I think I might prefer Scream 4. But who knows? I'm about to revisit it, and maybe I'll not like it more. Who knows? So, But yeah, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's all an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.